Hello, and thank you for viewing this video about IRIS, the Institutional Research Initiative for Students, a new program here at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. My name is Josh Leonard. I'm the Assistant Director for Operations and Employment Programs, Office of Scholarships, and Student Aid. So let's talk a little bit more about IRIS and all the things it's bringing to our university. As you can see on the screen, today's presentation is mostly concerned with why we're creating IRIS and the benefits of it, and how it can be used to help students here at UNC. For those of you who are viewing this presentation online, it was originally recorded as part of an in-person informational series in April 2018, which we have now replicated for those of you who are unable to make it to the presentation. So the first question, of course, what is IRIS? So IRIS is a partnership between the Office for Undergraduate Research and the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid. We've put it together in order to try and present more opportunities for undergraduate students to participate in meaningful, transformative, research-oriented work during their time here as undergraduates. We've affectionately also nicknamed it the McCorkle Place Partnership, being as Boots' office and mine are literally across McCorkle from one another. Now, my office, Scholarships and Student Aid, is going to be bringing in a few resources to the partnership. First and foremost is the current Federal Work Study program under which IRIS is going to be housed, which we'll talk about more on the next slide. We'll also be providing fall and spring funding for these positions, coordinating the logistics, oversight, software, training, answering questions, and anything we can generally do to keep the program on track. Boots in the Office of Undergraduate Research are going to be offering a number of skill building workshops for students to attend free of cost and when the students can be paid for them as part of their normal duties. They'll also be doing a lot of marketing and connecting in order to help students find out about the program and the opportunities, be coordinating the data and opportunities to showcase any research the students put together, and they'll be relaying these efforts to the Chancellor's office and others concerned with promoting research on campus. They're also going to be offering a competitive summer funding award for students who would like to stick around and continue their research opportunities over the summer at UNC. Albert Einstein was famously quoted as saying, "If you don't understand something well enough to explain it simply, then you don't understand it at all." Well, today we're going to try and take a slightly different route, and instead of explaining things mathematically, we're going to take Einstein's principle and apply it to brightly colored blocks in explaining our IRIS model. Here's the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid, and within it the Federal Work Study program. We're not generally this big, but it helps on the scale. Separate from my office are Boots and the Office for Undergraduate Research. Now, the IRIS program is actually going to be a part of the current Work Study program, but unlike other program offerings, we're going to exchange resources, information, assist students, and provide programming across the two, allowing us to leverage the strengths and abilities of both offices in order to make this program a success. So the next question is, what is this Work Study program and why is it so necessary to the operation of IRIS? Work Study is actually a federal financial aid program that provides students the opportunity to work part-time while in college and earn part of their financial aid rather than having to take it out through loans. The program encourages two types of jobs. One, work in the community with local nonprofit agencies for the betterment of the school in the area. And two, the one we're focusing on for this purpose, work related to the student's course of study, which we measure as being related to the student's professional, academic, or personal goals. Within the program, students are effectively part-time staff. They're treated as ongoing hourly wage employees, much like a part-time SHRA employee at UNC. Supervisors are permanent and full-time faculty and staff members of UNC or an approved community partner. The positions run from the very first day of classes into the last day of finals during the fall and spring terms. Currently, we don't offer summer funding through the Federal Work Study program, though as I mentioned for IRIS, these positions have the eligibility to gain summer funding through the Office for Undergraduate Research and their SURF grants. The slide before you is an overview of the duties and requirements of a Federal Work Study supervisor. You'll note they're divided into three phases: summer, August, and fall-spring. Over the summer, every supervisor has to determine if the work study program is suitable for the position they're hoping to create. Then they need to sit down and think about the knowledge, skills, abilities, and other factors that a student will need to be successful in the role. Once they've made a determination as to whether what they're hoping for and the skills required meet the requirements of the program, Each supervisor has to complete an online training annually. We also highly recommend that all supervisors attend one of our in-person workshops, which are also recorded, just as this presentation, and posted onto our website. We also require, before the end of the summer, all supervisors to develop, submit, have reviewed, and then review a job posting, which will contain information that students will see when completing their applications. During the month of August, supervisors will review and interview candidates to determine the best fit for the position. They'll then hire those employees and go through the process of coordinating their hiring with human resources, either their HR officer or shared services center for the department, and confirm that the student has completed their required work-study training. They'll also conduct onboarding to familiarize the student with their duties, safety confidentiality matters, coworkers, expectations, and so on and so forth. During the fall and spring, duties are largely divided into three parts. The first being assigning coordinating work to ensure that the student has duties to participate in. The second, ensuring regulatory compliance so that those duties do fall within the structure of the program and meet all federal requirements. And the third one is to provide feedback and, if the supervisor is interested, mentorship for the program. Now, for the purpose of IRIS, this can also include coordinating the opportunities for the student to present the data that they've gathered, either through the celebration of Undergraduate Research Week or through conferences, poster presentations, and so forth. This slide should give you an overview of what the Federal Work-Study Program looks like during the 2017-18 year, which we're currently in as the time of recording. We offered work-study participation to over a quarter of the undergraduates on campus and had about half of those decide to participate. Those 2,450 plus students worked with over 1,200 supervisors in over 1,400 different positions in and around campus, with every department on campus and a number of our community service partners. All told, these students will generate a little over $4 million in annual wages. And to cover all of this activity, there are two program staff, myself and Mr. Thomas Harper, so the equivalent of 1.5 full-time employees. Now, the funding sources actually flex on an annual basis, but generally speaking, the federal government provides a little over a third, the state provides around 7%, and then any additional earnings or cost of the program comes out of our institutional budget. This makes for a very flexible model, but so far our program has been able to accommodate all of our earnings every year for every participant who wants to be a part of the Federal Work-Study Program. Our students represent virtually every major and minor across the campus. As you can see from this slide, they do reflect the general makeup of our undergraduate students across campus as a whole. Currently, within the work-study program, I'm very proud that we have 272 current research or laboratory jobs housed in 77 different units across the campus. If you are one of the supervisors currently participating in one of these units, we thank you very much for your participation. It is the initial data from these jobs that have made IRIS possible. Now, if you're looking, 272 jobs is about 21% or 1 in 5 of all the positions offered under work study. So we do have a very robust research population that we're hoping to expand with IRIS. Our program actually has a very good satisfaction rate from both the students and supervisors. The data you're looking at comes from our 2017-18 annual survey, which is still ongoing as the time of this recording, but the data has stabilized enough to show you this. If you add up the numbers, you can see that both our students and supervisors show over a 90% satisfaction rate, which we're very proud of. So the question becomes, if we have such high satisfaction rates, we're housing research positions, and we're in such a good place with the program, why would we need to create IRIS? And I'd like to show you some information that has helped to motivate this partnership. You may remember from our earlier slide that the work-study programs are encouraged to create two types of positions: those that work for the betterment of the community, and those that help to prepare students for their professional goals. To that end, we asked students two questions during our annual surveys. The first, we asked students if it is important to them that their employment is related to their academic, professional, or personal goals. And the second, we ask if their employment actually is related to these areas. As you can see, we have a negative trend in the comparison, meaning that we have more students who would like a position that will prepare them for their professional role than the students actually being prepared for those roles. In some cases, it's quite a distinct drop-off between the two. IRIS is meant to help with this in a number of ways. We also see, when we look at why students selected their job, that interest in work is the first factor. However, The academic, professional, and personal goals take a backseat to students finding positions based on convenience and monetary reasons. While we never expect monetary reasons and locations to go away as factors, we are trying to increase the academic, professional, and personal goal reasons that students select jobs. In other words, helping students select positions because of what it can do for them in the future in terms of professional development, rather than what they can get now in terms of pay. We run a separate survey asking those students who were offered a chance to participate in the work-study program but chose not to do so, why they didn't participate in work-study. These are the top 3 reasons consistently year after year, and you'll see that each of them is around a third of the population. Concern with interference with academics remains our most popular issue, although, to be honest, our survey data shows that our students actually do better in terms of their academic pursuits and time management skills as an effect of participating in this program. We also have a number of students who find employment elsewhere, either through on-campus or off-campus jobs. But the most troubling category here is 35% of our students never find a suitable job. Now, this is despite having more positions than we have students participating on a regular basis. We still have students who can't find something that would benefit them professionally as they're hoping to find. If we look at the trends of what compromises the federal work-study positions, we do see that about half of our jobs are in office, administrative, and clerical work. And while a number of these are quite beneficial and do prepare students for their future professional endeavors, we do know that this category has the largest disconnect between students wanting to find professional development opportunities and actually finding those. On the other hand, research, which we mentioned is about 1 in 5 of our positions, has a very high correlation between students who want to find a professional development position and actually finding said position. So what we're hoping to do through IRIS is take some of our less professional development type jobs in the office, administrative, clerical fields and shift those opportunities into our research area, thus providing students with the opportunities that we know they're seeking and are unable to find. As part of our preparation for creating the IRIS program, we use the annual surveys in the current and previous year to ask students if they would be interested in participating in the program and described it in detail. As you can see from the chart below, 67%, or over 2/3 of the students who took the survey, said yes, they would definitely be interested in IRIS. In comparison, in that same year, we only had 37% of the supervisors who said they would be interested in creating a position with a more research-intensive focus, meaning we had a very large disconnect during the previous academic year between students who wanted these professional development positions in research and the supervisors who would host them. We asked the same question again during this most recent annual survey, and our statistics stayed largely the same for the students. The supervisors improved, but we still have a shortage. Again, many more students want these research-centric professional development opportunities than supervisors who are willing or able to host them. Now, we know from other peer institutions that programs like IRIS, which offer meaningful research opportunities, do work. University of Michigan's Europe, UVA's USOAR, and George Mason's URSP program all have exceptional outputs and are highly touted. George Mason actually went so far as to publish an article in CUR Quarterly about their undergraduate research program. Not only did they develop a model and show data about surveys and attitudes towards research, but they found a number of benefits that they had not designed the program to develop. Their program, pairing undergraduates with research, found positive gains amongst a number of dynamics. Students who were typically underrepresented in terms of gender, ethnicity, and first generation to college all saw larger gains than the standard population who didn't fit those categories, meaning not only did the program provide benefits in terms of professional development, but it helped to level the playing field, providing those benefits to a number of students who typically did not have exposure to the research field. Internal to the university, the Connecting Doing Making QEP is attempting to expose every undergraduate student to a research experience before they finish their time at UNC. We know that low-income students are especially disconnected from research, as they often have to make a choice between their limited financial resources and the professional development research exposures they'd like. In essence, the students often have to choose between working to earn food and cover their living expenses, or participating in a voluntary research experience to gain the professional development they need. Quite frankly, they're choosing between feeding themselves now or preparing for their future. IRIS attempts to solve this by offering students the opportunity to do quality professional development positions involving research while still being paid for that time, thus negating the either-or choice. So that's a little bit about why we created the program and the initiative behind it, a little bit about the structure. So of course the question becomes, what are the benefits to you as a supervisor and to the students? So the benefits to this program come from two different sources. The first, the Office for Undergraduate Research, is discussed here, and we'll talk about the benefits from the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid second. As you notice on the screen, the left side is largely concerned with education and coursework. Now, for the first time in the history of the work-study program, we're going to be able to offer students the opportunity to attend these educational workshops as part of their required duties. In other words, if you have a student who's going to be conducting a literature review as part of their job assignment, they can attend these workshops and be paid for their time and attendance, allowing them to develop the skills they need from the Office for Undergraduate Research on the clock. Now, not compensated, but also offered by Office for Undergraduate Research are courses on more intensive topics that take a semester-long window, as opposed to the educational workshops, which are normally a couple hours at a time. OUR also offers advice, and they offer opportunities for students to present on their research that they're doing through the positions, either the Celebration for Undergraduate Research Week or through travel awards, allowing students to attend workshops that you as a supervisor might be attending, or workshops that you might want to send a student to without you. Perhaps most importantly for those of you who've been with work-study program for a while, is OUR is actually offering summer funding through two programs. The Competitive Surf Grant, which allows students who've been working through IRIS to continue their work over the summer and will fund part of their expenses and living cost, and summer awards for research-intensive courses covering the cost of attending these semester-long intensive research-focused classes. We've divided the benefits from my office, the Office of Scholarships and Student Aid, out a little differently so you can see both what's beneficial to you and to the student. A few of the supervisor benefits we've discussed, including the fact there are 4,000 plus prospective employees. But perhaps the most important one in people's minds is that this program is entirely without cost to you, the supervisor. In other words, any wages earned by the students in these positions will be paid through the Federal Work-Study Program, meaning there's no direct cost to you for the 2018-19 academic year should you choose to participate. We'll also be opening up JobX, which is the electronic system by which we offer positions, the students the ability to apply to postings, and you the chance to hire students. All of that will happen earlier for participants in the IRIS program than we typically have allowed. We're also going to be creating a number of features both on the Office for Undergraduate Research, JobX, and OSSA websites pointing students towards these positions. And those are all sort of the concrete benefits to you. I'd also like to point out that these positions have a positive impact on populations which have traditionally not had the same opportunities to participate in research. These positions offer you the ability to mentor students and to help shape the thoughts and attitudes towards research for the next generation of leaders and researchers. As for the students, perhaps the most obvious benefit to the program is an income source that, unlike their normal traditional financial aid, students accumulate over time, meaning they'll receive a paycheck about every 2 weeks during the academic year. That paycheck helps reduce the amount of loans that they have to borrow, and this position offers a number of professional developments. There's also this very positive psychological effect of bootstrapping, in which students are both paying for their own college and helping get themselves developed towards their own future, which should definitely draw some attention when we talk about the benefits open to students here. So if those are the benefits, what are the limitations to the program? In looking at the limitations to the program, there are 4 big categories, all of which center around the fact that this is a federally funded program and subject to federal regulations. The first and most glaring is that this program is only open to current work-study students at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Again, that's about a quarter of our undergraduate population, so it's a very large pool, but it's certainly not everyone. If you're interested in hiring students outside of the work-study population, or preferably in addition to, you can talk to the University Career Services about their part-time employment program. That program does require that you as the supervisor pay 100% of the wages, but it is open to every undergraduate and graduate student on campus. Federal regulations surrounding the work-study program also prevent some duties, including driving, virtual work, unsupervised work, and working under conditions that may be deemed unsafe or risky. There's also regulations concerning how much and when students can work, preventing students from going over 20 hours a week and over their allotted award. Students are also only allowed to work from the first day of classes to the last day of classes within the fall and spring semesters when the university is open. Perhaps the biggest issue that you should be aware of as a potential IRIS supervisor is that there is no guarantee that you'll find a student through the IRIS program. Now, this is because we allow applicants to choose their own positions. And in the past, we've been able to fill every research opportunity open to us, but we can't guarantee that students will apply to your position and that you'll find someone that fits your needs. Again, students choose the jobs, but the supervisors choose from whom the applicants they will hire. Lastly, it needs to be noted that any employee through this program will be a full-time student at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and subject to certain student conditions such as tests, extracurricular activities, and spring break, for example. We found that in the past, supervisors who are upfront with their students about the expectations of the position and set clear goals and provide feedback rarely have issues in this realm, other than obviously students not being able to work during finals. However, it should be noted that students do have other concerns on their time and are not professional employees and do not always behave as such. So if you're still with me, and I hope you are, I'd like to talk a little bit about who can participate in this program. In order to participate in the program, students have to have a federal work-study award. As we previously mentioned, this is a quarter of the campus undergraduate population in a very robust pool. For supervisors, there's a few more restrictions. You need to be a full-time permanent faculty or staff member at UNC Chapel Hill, currently engaged in an ongoing research investigation of any phase. You also need to be able to devote some time to creating a position, selecting a student, and bringing them on board, training them, and supervising them over the course of the academic year. We also strongly recommend that if you're going to participate, you don't do so alone, as federal work-study regulations require that a student check in and check out with a registered work-study supervisor at the beginning and end of each shift. As for the type of job, the restrictions are that it has to be a meaningful opportunity to participate in pretty much any part of ongoing research investigation. Anything from coming up with the initial concept to readjusting in order to have something published. As long as the student's participating in the process, they're welcome to do so through the IRIS program. Now, I should clarify, these positions are not meant to be research support only, as in stocking supplies or running the autoclave or running errands for the office. The student is not to be an independent research. As we've discussed, the work-study program does involve a lot of give and take with supervisors. So these are not the type of positions where you hand students aims at the beginning of the fall and come back for finalized data at the end of the spring. Finally, these positions can't be in parallel with 4-credit coursework. The Federal Work-Study Program regulations specifically prohibit students from simultaneously earning wages and credit through the same amount of work. So that's the information I have about the IRIS program for you today. Hopefully you're interested, and we'd very much like you to be a part of the program. If so, and you're still with me, the obvious question is, what do you do next? Now, we'll talk very shortly about what to do depending on where you're at in the calendar year. But before you start with any of that process, we do recommend that you sit down and ask yourself a few questions and think about the position that you'll be creating. You need to know what kind of work the student will be participating in, and quite frankly, how many students you're looking to have join your research team. How this is going to affect your team, how many people you might need to supervise, and whether those people would be willing to help out, how this is going to affect your current process. Before you officially sign up for the program, I'd ask that you sit down and start writing out all of that information to make sure that this is a feasible opportunity for you. Once you have your evaluation of the job duties of the students, of the effects on the team, so on and so forth, then you ask yourself the question whether the work-study program and IRIS is a good fit for you. Now, we intentionally designed this program to be as minimally administrative burdensome as possible, but still we understand that it might not be a great fit for everyone. Hopefully, it'll be a great fit for you and for us. Now, depending on where you're at in the year, there might be some different duties. If you're hearing this presentation and it's still summer 2018, you're in great shape, as the process doesn't really open to students until August. But what we'd like to do is, if you're part of the program and you're interested, you can go ahead and reach out to us at work-study@unc.edu. That's work-study@unc.edu, and you'll see that email address on the next slide. To provide you a little bit of overview, during the summer, you'll be creating the position after you've undergone the required training in order to gain access to JobX, our online job posting and hiring board. We also would recommend that you participate in one of our in-person workshops, which we'll have over the summer, the schedule of which you can find out by officially joining the email distribution list for IRIS by contacting that work-study email, or by logging on to our JobX website and looking at the on-campus supervisor page. Once you've completed all of your training, you'll be free to post a position in the JobX, and after my team reviews it and approves it, we'd ask that you take a look to ensure that it's accurate and you don't need to make any changes, as the position may be posted early in the summer and your expectations of the student position may change before the system goes live. Also in July, we'll have another set of hiring workshops specifically focused on how to select student applicants, interview them, and hire them, which we would recommend attending, especially if you're a first-time supervisor. You also want to use this time to prepare your interview questions and scoring guide that you'll use to evaluate students. We have tools on how to do all of that on our JobX website, again on the on-campus resources page. In August, the JobX system will officially open to students and you'll begin to receive applications. At that time, you'll interview, hire, and close the position once you've found all of your student workers. You'll then coordinate with your HR office or shared services center to ensure those students have completed all the federally and institutionally required steps to onboarding. Then, beginning on the first day of classes, which takes place on August 21st, 2018 for the fall 2018 semester, you'll be able to bring the student in and officially compensate them as they begin their work. During this first period, you'll want to complete a individualized onboarding specific to your position, including things like safety orientation, setting clear expectations and goals, and ensuring the student knows how to use the TIM system to log their hours. Now, from the very first day that the student begins work until the last day of classes in the term, you have two main duties: ensuring that the student is able to complete assigned work, and they have the tools, resources, and knowledge necessary to do so, and ensuring that that student stays in compliance with the program regulations. As previously mentioned very early on, you also have the opportunity to help mentor that student, guide them, and help them present their research. We don't require that as part of the IRIS program, but you are heavily encouraged to do so. Towards the end of the fall semester, it is time to evaluate the students on their performance, the guide of which, again, is out on the JobX site under our on-campus resources page, and should take only about 10 or 15 minutes to complete and work with the student on. You'll also want to use this time to decide whether that student has progressed through their duties and needs to look at a new position for spring, either with your research team or with someone else, or if they're ready to move on to higher level duties in the same position. If you'd like to move the student into a new set of duties, you can create a new spring-only position on JobX, and we'll have that posted for you. The spring process traditionally begins in November, and you'll be able to hire students for new spring jobs anytime after the end of the fall term. In January, on the first day of classes for spring, you'll be able to start the spring part of the work-study program, which will run through the last day of finals in May. That's all we've got. If you have any questions, we'd encourage you to reach out to us at either work-study@unc.edu for myself, Josh Leonard, or Thomas Harper, the other half of my team. And if you have any questions specific to the Office of Undergraduate Research, I'd encourage you to reach out to Dr. Boots Quimby at our@unc.edu. Either of us will be happy to answer any questions you may have about the program, but of course we each have our areas of specialty. Well, that's it for me. Thank you so much for sticking with us, and I very much hope you'll consider being part of the IRIS program. The program will officially kick off later in May when the JobX system comes online for the 2018-19 academic year, and we look forward to working with you during this initial pilot year of the program and in all the future successful years we intend to have beyond that. Thank you so much. Goodbye.